Well, hello. Guess what? It's Thoughts from the Field, part 2, because I'm in the fields. And I've got a linen hat. Yes! Guess what? Men know better when they know how to make a linen hat. Seriously, it makes you think better. Try it out. I think this one's from a place called Hannah House. Hannah Haas, H-A-S. I don't know, it's Irish, so it's clearly made of perfect, wonderful linen. And guess what else I have with me? My kukri, makaira. If you haven't read your Sword of the Covenant today, take a bite, because we're gonna get some saucy lessons from the field. You see all this calamity behind me? Buckets, chickens. Can't maybe tell that's a chicken. I don't know. Yep, there's goats. Goats! Where is he? Miles. Anyways, I've got goats, I've got chickens, and I've got thistles, briars, and nightmarically strong bamboo. All of that is dealt with one of these. So today, I'm gonna be clearing this entire forestry area. Let's see. See all this mess, guys, behind me? See all that? Just chaos. That's all thorny. Everything you see there is just gross thorns and nightmarically painful thistles. So what I'm gonna be doing today is clearing this thing out. Sorry, I'm working on the thimble thing. I'm gonna be clearing it out. And as I go along, I'm gonna teach you some sweet lessons about goats, life, nightmarically difficult conditions that we're all facing, horrible things like riots and fires and chaos and the streets of the earth melting from the fury of the one who is coming. But more than that, I'm probably just gonna teach you guys about how awesome it is to have a machete to cut through all that nonsense and to be at peace. There's Miles. He's my co-laborer today. Goats are difficult. There was 2 other goats in here this morning. Guess what? They're gone because goats are stubborn and difficult and they don't stay inside the fence. That's why Yahweh doesn't want goats in his kingdom. If you haven't read the Sword of the Covenant, he separates the goats, like this one, from the sheep because goats love to climb out. Hello. You just peed on your face. I don't want you to touch me. Did you know that? Goats also do that. It's disgusting. Apparently the ladies love it. You ever put on cologne when you were 12? Maybe when you're 14? I got really into putting on cologne. I smelled like a dead fish to a lot of people, but to the right kind of people, delicious. Well, that's Miles right now. He's got his appeal on right now. He's really hoping that one of the ladies will take an eye to him. I can smell him from here. It's awful. I wish you guys could smell him. You wouldn't be happy. Anyways, I'm gonna get to hacking things away. I'll catch you soon. Well, hello. That was brutal. Yeah, I'm bloody. You know, you ever start a project and about 3 minutes into it, you realize you made a poor decision? As much as I love linen, like there's no bigger fan of linen in the history of the last 3 months than me. I am living in it, drowning in it. Look it, I'm even wearing aprons when I milk. Made of linen, they're amazing. Found those at a thrift store, like destiny was knocking at my door. But linen has some issues, guys, especially when it comes to briars. The thorns snag on it like crazy. It's brutal. It beat the snot out of me, and I got puncture wounds. I hear someone coming up on my back, sorry. He's going in my blind spot, you see that? Fred, look it, he's peeing. See this? Territorial. Shouldn't be on Fred's level. Goats. That gets me back to my first point. Goats, guys. Goats are incredibly difficult. I've been a big fan of being like, I'm a shepherd of goats. Woo! I've been really excited about it, right? Because they do something amazing. Well, let me stop. They do a lot of things that are amazing. Right now, hopefully in my time lapse, some of that came through. Miles is doing an amazing job at clearing this forest with me. This forest is brutal. It's so overgrown. It's just been relentlessly devoured by thorns and climbing briars. Here, look, let me just show you. Let's see. See that right there? Let's see, right there. See that? It's like a cane, right? Some of these are blackberries, which they make delicious fruit. But what they do is they grow fresh canes, which means thorny barbs of death. They grow those every year, fresh ones. Great, right? If you like to eat blackberries. Some of the blackberries apparently taste like sawdust and burnt cheese. They're terrible. They don't taste like you think they do at the store. So those aren't exciting, and they just grow everywhere. And every year, those canes, those sharp barbed stingers of death, yeah, they die. And then they're just dry out and shrivel and they crispy, and then they just stay there and they become like your worst nightmare. Don't worry, they're back for more next year. But you know what's so rad is if I cleared down all of this, like I've done here over my shoulder, see how it was all tall? It was all just as overgrown and crazy as this. If I clear this down, then Fred can do his wonderful job. Where is he? Fred, right there, homeboy. He can clear the rest of it because he's gonna walk on top of that stuff because he's thorn proof. Goats are thorn proof. That's amazing. So he walks on top of it and he eats the leaves, right? He eats all the greenness right now. He's eating literally barbed thorny poisons. Show him, Fred. Yeah, he's eating all of it. It's pretty impressive, right? Problem with goats is, guys, they like to get out. This is a serious issue. This is what makes them different than sheep. I've never had sheep, but I talked to 3 shepherds recently when I was in Atlanta. You guys are studly. I love you. I also met a stone-slinging mighty man. Dietrich, you're a stud. I'm so glad to have met you. He blew my mind with sling talk. The next day, him and his broski, other Gibbor, Austin, who made a cudgel out of ash wood that he bashes raccoons' head in that try to eat his ducks. Mighty Gibborim, guys. Did you know there's this awesome studs out there everywhere? Young men and young women who have been raised in a set-apart way that love Yahweh and they guard his commands? Seriously, y'all. There's some mighty parents out there. Shout out to you guys who are doing a terrific job of raising up your children. Let me just say that again. You're personally raising your children. It's called parenting. You're actually parenting your children. You didn't vomit them up into a system or a prison of indoctrination and just trust the system to take care of them. Yeah, that's a goaty move. That's jumping the fence. You know what I mean? This time you actually built a fence and just kicked your kids out. Terrible decision. You wonder why the world is the way it is? It's because you surrendered your children and sacrificed them to a bunch of people that hate Yahweh, that hate his word, that mock it, and are going to raise your children up with nothing but lies, legitimately. Try to go to the store and shop for real, like actual food, and you have a college degree. I meet and talk with a lot of really smart folks, guys. Some of them who have serious pedigrees. And by that, I mean, they learned a lot of things that didn't equip them for anything that comes to real life. Like how to make a real meal, like a meal, personally. That's real food. Chelsea and I have been studying grains. Oh yeah, some of you heard about this a little more at the conference. Real food, grind your own grain. It'll change you, legitimately. Bread. We're all naked and starving out here. That's what I'm realizing. We all think we have clothing. It's not real clothing. We all think we have food. It's not real food. We're the most underfed nation in the world, even though we have the most food, right? What the heck does that mean? Meaning we don't have any nutrition in any of our food. Our water's poisoned, our food's poisoned, our clothing's poisoned, our air's poisoned. Literally, you're in a total onslaught of electromagnetic bathe of poisoned by dragons. And yet there's these goats right there who know how to clear this forest and convert this poisoned milk nightmare of thorns and thistles and total onslaught into goat milk and or meat and or leather, which I could be wearing to protect my hands, but I've not made goatskin gloves yet. I have a pair. They're shredded to pieces because this area is rough. But these goats, you guys, do a tremendous job at fighting back that total onslaught that they're enslaved to. They're amazing at it. They're like built for it. The problem is they don't stay in the fence. And that's a big deal. Ask anybody who's kept livestock. They're gonna tell you what they don't tell you on YouTube. Because all the cool homesteading videos, you know, all you guys out there who I think idolize the homesteading lifestyle, you're like, oh yeah, honey, wouldn't it be great? Let's have goats. It's because you watch some YouTube video of goats playing in beautiful green lush pastures and they're skipping with glee. But you know what most of you guys don't have? Lush green pastures or goats with glee. Most of you guys are like, I got about an acre or 3. I got a couple acres. You know what? That's great. That's amazing. I never had it. I still don't have a couple acres. Not yet. Someday maybe the Father will entrust that to me. But I've realized with animals, you need a lot more land than just a couple acres. You can theoretically do it, right? People do it all the time. You could just feed them hay. Yeah, and then they're miserable and depressed. I mean it. It's just like humans who live in confinement called schools of indoctrination, where we're fed garbage, raised on garbage, never touching the real earth, and we're miserable, fat, sick, and nearly dead. So are these poor goats generally, unless you can get them into the pasture lands. That's what I'm doing right now. This area doesn't really produce a lot of stuff we can use, like at all. It literally grew nightmares. But you know what's happening? By me working hard and pouring my sweat of my brow and my blood and my tears into this land, and this goat bringing down these nuisance plants, you know what's gonna happen? Good grasses are gonna start to grow here, legitimately. We're gonna be able to sow into this cover crops. Crops that will help to grab onto this soil because we're on a hillside and keeps washing away. We're gonna grab onto the soil here and we're gonna be able to turn it into a lush grazing area so we can do rotational grazing, so that we can have different pastured areas that we can let one area rest while another area is being eaten by the goats. So then one is growing taller, bigger, and turning into teenage grass, which, by the way, goats love more than anything in the history of mankind. Then they can go in and eat that while the other area rests. So we can maximize the use of the small lands or acreage that we do have. But until that time, it just stinks for the goats and it's frustrating for shepherds. And because of that, the goats jump out all the time. They climb out of the fence because they think, you know what? I saw 4 leaves on that tree over there. I don't care if it's by a road. I want to eat that. And they do. I'm not joking. They jump out of the fence and into the road to get the 4 leaves on the other side. I've watched them do this. I have not gone one day, not one day, where a goat didn't get out of a fence. I've been a shepherd now for 4.5, 5 months. Not one day did a goat not get out of the fence. They are determined to break out of the fence. That's a stupid decision because you can die out there, right? But you guys do the same thing every single day of your lives. Yahweh gave us his word, these instructions from beginning to end that tells you this is then how you should live. And I've been climbing out of that fence my whole life. I spent my whole life trying to get out of that fence and being like, I wonder where the edge is. You know, raised New Testament exclusive Christian most of my life. Luciferian on another whole nightmaric side of me. But remember, you'd press the boundaries. What is the edge? What is the limit? I don't know what God wants from me. Like, there was so much confusion in the Christian churches that I was raised in. It was unreal. But you know what happened when I just read the book and obeyed it? Transformational. I realized that it was a giant fence that was built around this horrible wasteland desert out there. And if you look at the people in Israel, and when they were in the wilderness, Yahweh gave Moses instructions to build this tabernacle. And he called this the chet, this big white linen fence that went all the way around the perimeter of this tabernacle, this giant dome structure that would lift up and they would erect into the sky. Amazing. That was his set apart place. That's where the fire of Yahweh would come down, where the Ark of the Covenant was, where the mercy seat was, where the inner chamber was, right? Where you had these showbread and the Holy of Holies and the outer courts and this huge white linen fence that had bodyguards all around it that would cut you down, son, if you came in there and you weren't allowed to be in there. Goats jump the fence. Sheep don't. Which one are you? Sheep stay in the fence because they recognize, I got a good shepherd in here. He's going to take care of me. And maybe he's got me in this tiny pendant area so that I work on what he needs from me so I can bless him. And I can do and produce good fruit and good labor. I'm exhausted, but it's a good day because my goats are so happy. Look at that. The other 2 goats that were in here, you know where they are? In trouble somewhere, being doofuses, driving me crazy. Oh, you know what they're not going to get from me? A whole lot of love. But Miles, on the other hand, even though he peed on me, is still in my favorites category. I'm going to make sure he gets a little cup of flaxseed tonight. He's going to be living large. He might even get to go visit his ladies. You hear that, Miles? Yeah. You eat those thistles. That's him doing it right there. Check this out. That is a goat eating thorns. Amazing. Go work harder. Stay inside the fence. Yahweh will bless you. Love you guys. I'm gonna go bandage my wounds. Wrap them in linen. I'll see you soon.